Bueno, nos encontramos en Ibiza y vamos a continuar la aventura americana de Mónica Contini, nuestra viajera infatigable. A ver, ¿por dónde íbamos?
Ahora voy un poco más rápido. We were in the telescope area, the very large array. Okay, from there I continued and I drove to Gallup. Gallup is on the very famous Road 66, and it was my first stop there. And Gallup is also inside the Navajo reservation. Gallup is Navajo capital city, basically. I stopped there for the night because the day after I went to visit some ancestral pueblos. The very famous one is called Acoma, or sky in city in the sky. And basically you get there through the desert, and you have a large territory of desert with a lot of mesas, which are these big, huge rocks where the ancestor pueblos used to live. And one of these villages is still open, and it's open to the tourists, and you have to go with a tour. You can't go by yourself, and that was really interesting. After that, I continued my trip for the day, and I visited two more pueblos, and the Zuni, and can't remember the third one, and the beautiful forest, which is called the Petrified Forest. And from there I continued and I went. Oh yes, I spent the night. I spent another night in Grant, still on Road 66, because the day after I had to drive all the way to Sedona. So I was crossing the border again from New Mexico. I was driving west to Arizona once again. I went to Sedona and I spent 3 days there, and Sedona is a very magical place. There are all these rocks around around town, which are believed to have very high energy. They're called vortexes, and you can hike anywhere around them, and on top of them, around them, at the bottom. So it was endless hiking. For 3 days I hiked. And I took, I don't know how many pictures, of course. Sedona was really beautiful, very touristy, but again, once you hit the hiking trails, you don't see many people around. It seems like people prefer restaurants and bars and this kind of stuff, which suits me perfect. From Sedona, I went to Flagstaff, which I really, really loved. Flagstaff is very different from the other towns I visited until then. It's a university town, so it's very young and quite cool. It has a beautiful old park by the train station, because that's where you can take the train to go to the Grand Canyon. But of course I had my car, so I didn't take the train. I visited Flagstaff, and the day after I went to the Grand Canyon, and I spent 3 days there. I camped in the campsite, and it was really beautiful, quite busy. I expected that. But again, I always found to find
And how?
Yeah.
Have you been hiking in the Grand Canyon?
Yes.
To the
Yes, to the very bottom. Okay, to the very bottom. I did that because basically my intention was to camp at the bottom of the river. But in order to do that, you have to win a lottery. Basically, about 3-4 months earlier, I applied for a place in the campsite, and but I wasn't lucky. They didn't accept my application because it was already fully booked for my nights. So I had to camp at the top of the canyon. But I really wanted to see the river. I really wanted to hike down, and they don't recommend you do this in one day because it's a lot of kilometers. It's basically
there is the possibility to do it with donkeys.
Yes, you can with horses and but just until one part, not at the very
Not to
bottom.
the-
And then if you go to the very bottom, you will have to hike up. But I don't like to exploit animals anyway. I know that it's a donkey's job to carry a burden, but I will never stay on a donkey. I can't. Um, so basically, the day after, well, I slept the first night, and the day after, I
And
decided,
for our followers,
Yeah.
the people that don't like to camp in the Grand Canyon, well, there are several possibilities.
yes. So there are a lot of lodges, very beautiful
There are
ones.
lodges, and also there's the possibility to fly from Las Vegas.
Yes,
You can go by helicopter, and they stop in the middle of the Great Canyon, and it's unbelievable.
Yes.
I promise you.
Yeah.
I have that. I was twice in
yeah,
the Grand.
yes. You can do by helicopter.
Yeah, I went one by bus from Las Vegas,
Yeah,
crossing all the desert.
yeah.
And my second time I went by helicopter.
Helicopter, yes.
Yeah.
You can do that. You can do by small planes, helicopter, and I'm
Yeah.
sure it's absolutely stunning. And for the lodges, yes, there are many lodges inside the park, and also another option is to sleep in Tusayan, which is a town very close to the entrance to the national park, and there are a lot of motels and possibilities for accommodation. But I prefer to camp. So I camped, and the day after I hiked all the way down to the river and via one hiking trail, and then I came up via the other one, which is called the Indian Gardens. And it was fantastic. When I arrived I arrived at the top of the canyon again. By then I had walked 28 kilometers I did that day. 14 kilometers to go down and 13 to go up. So it was quite a day. I loved it, and the previous day I hiked a lot around the rim, because you can do beautiful hikes also on the rim. So the day after I was ready to move on, and I went back to Road 66. I went to visit Williams, which is a small town, and then I went to sleep in Seligman, which is very famous because there are a lot of Road 66 memorabilia, a lot of old motels with the classic American lights, and a lot of symbols of the 50s and the true America road trip. I slept there. The day after I continued. Again, I took, instead of staying on Highway 40, I took a minor road, and I arrived in Kingsman. I slept in Kingsman, and it was also very interesting because at night you have no tourists around, so it was like being like a local. And the day after, finally, I went to Las Vegas. Las Vegas was really fun. I'm sure that I could have enjoyed more if I was with friends, or at least another person, because by myself I don't gamble, so it was really interesting for me to go into casinos. But the best part was to visit all the hotels, because they are absolutely marvelous. I mean,
Have you been the water show in the Bellagio?
yes, at Bellagio I went twice to see the shows, and but the halls of the hotels, I've never seen anything like that.
Have you gone to any show?
No, I didn't. I wanted to see the Cirque du Soleil, but it was fully booked, and the only tickets available were the top price ones, like $350, and I didn't want to spend that money for the show. And I was looking forward to see some concerts. I know that during that period Cher was having a concert, Lady Gaga was having concerts, but not that week when I was there. There were no interesting concerts. I visited a few museums, and I enjoyed my nice hotel. And
what kind of museums there are?
the Mafia one. I went
Ah,
to
I
the
didn't
Mafia
know
one.
that.
Yes, the Mafia museum.
And of course, have you been in the old Las Vegas? This part where you can see on the ceiling all the lights.
I went to the old Las Vegas where the museum was and where there is the biggest casino in Las Vegas, and it's called, well, I think it's Las Vegas downtown. But the people around, I mean, they're so touristy and so packed with tourist groups, a lot of Indian groups, Chinese groups, Korean groups, on top of American people and Italian. I mean, it was really, really full of tourists. I didn't like that. So 2 days in Las Vegas for me was more than enough.
Yes, I think so.
Yes.
I went with a group.
Yeah.
And I escaped from the group and I went to the Great Canyon. I said, no, this is too much for me.
Too much, yes. And it's just spending for something that I'm not interested in. So 2 days enough.
Yeah.
So from after Las Vegas, I entered Utah. But before I entered Utah, I went to visit
the state of the Mormons.
State of the Mormon, but the most amazing state nature-wise. I never seen such a concentration of beauty in, I can't say small territory. Because
Salt Lake City.
I didn't get to Salt Lake City because it's further north. It would have been a highlight for me to visit, but I couldn't drive an extra 1,000 miles to go up and back down. And I wanted to concentrate in the national parks, which are Zion National Park, Bryce Canyon National Park. Then you go into Grand Staircase National Park, and then there is Canyonlands National Park, Arches National Park, and then after Moab you go to another section of the Canyonlands National Parks. And then there is Dead Horse National State Park, which is where they filmed Thelma and Louise, where they jumped into the canyon. That's in Utah, in Canyonlands. I visited that for sunset, and it was absolutely amazing. I've never seen a place like this. And
for the next